Alright, so let's crank up the drama. Imagine this. Jason Lee, the guy who made a whole empire by running his mouth louder than anyone else, suddenly decides to aim straight at Beyoncé. And not just any aim. He basically ambushes her in public, dropping sly hints that he's holding onto some marriage-wrecking bomb about her and Jay-Z. Like, excuse me? Has this man officially lost it? His mind. Fans dragged him for even trying it. Clout chasing, they said, desperate for attention. But now people are staring at him sideways like, wait, what if he wasn't bluffing? This whole drama didn't just appear overnight. It started bubbling back in December when Beyoncé threw her Renaissance movie premiere in London. You know, the kind of exclusive event where celebs line up just to be seen. Of exclusive invite-only event where celebs and influencers line up just to be seen. And Jason, who's always been loud about supporting black artists and dropping big money on their tours, like 40 grand big, was certain he'd be on the guest list. But nope, Queen Bey froze him out. No invite, no mention, nothing. And Jason didn't take that quietly. He hit the mic and let it all fly. Called her out for not supporting black media. Ranted about every dollar he dropped, every time he showed up for her, and how she straight up left him hanging. He didn't just sound hurt, he sounded strategic, like a man who knows how to turn a snub into power. And then came the moment that flipped the whole script. During a live taping of his show, Jason stared straight into the camera and started teasing receipts. Not just vague hints, either. He claimed he had dirt that could rattle Beyoncé's entire image. But here's the kicker. He said he'd keep quiet if Beyoncé sent Kelly Rowland to do an interview on his show. The man straight up tried to swap silence for a seat. That's not petty. That's blackmail. Period. At the time, most people shrugged it off. Just Jason being messy again, right? But fast forward to now, and the vibe is completely different. Divorce rumors are swirling. Whispers about Beyoncé leaving Jay-Z are suddenly everywhere. And what are fans doing? Yep, sprinting back to that old Jason Lee clip like it's a prophecy. It's prophecy. Suddenly, it's not clout chasing, it's foreshadowing. And here's where it gets real messy. People started peeling back the layers, and what they uncovered wasn't cute. We're talking old whispers, buried interviews, and a string of sketchy coincidences. Like how Jay-Z and Diddy have been tight for decades, practically like brothers. And now that Diddy's name is tangled up in some seriously dark allegations, Jay-Z's bond with him isn't just a fun fact anymore. It's a giant red flag. Because let's be real, Jay already admitted to cheating on Beyoncé. That's not gossip, that's straight up fact. But the latest rumor? Beyoncé allegedly discovered Jay was still doing shady business with Diddy even after everything started crumbling around him. And that's what allegedly pushed her to the edge. Not just cheating, not just disrespect, but standing beside someone like Diddy while the world watches his empire crumble in scandal. And suddenly, Jason Lee's so-called messy rants don't sound so wild anymore. Maybe Beyoncé didn't ice him out for nothing. Maybe she knew he had dirt. Maybe that Kelly Rowland interview wasn't just a petty ask. It was the cost of his silence. Silence. And maybe, just maybe, he's still clutching the rest of those receipts in his back pocket, waiting for the perfect moment to set it all on fire. Because if this mess is already wild without Jason talking, imagine the explosion if he finally did. Jason Lee wasn't just running his mouth for fun when he dropped those sly lines about sending a message to Beyoncé. That wasn't some random bluff. He sounded like a man who knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly which pressure points to hit, and who'd already tried. He even name-checked Kelly Rowland as if she were bargaining currency, bluntly stating that if she refused to sit down on his show, he'd begin releasing receipts. And not just random documents, he made perfectly clear that the files he held could implode the internet if exposed. Guests on the episode couldn't conceal their disbelief. The shock was visible on every face in the room that day. Those expressions said it all. Eyes wide, mouths frozen, pure disbelief. Jason continued to tease, to dangle that secret just far enough to pull everyone closer. He was playing chess while the crowd played checkers. And it paid off. He nudged the pot just enough for people to ask, what does he actually know? Now, here's where it gets. Things get heavy. The internet started connecting dots that stretched decades back. That tiny Jay-Z and Aaliyah rumor resurfaced. The Foxy Brown connection popped back onto the timeline. Once digging began, the pattern was hard to miss. Jay-Z has long been wrapped in whispers. Relationships with much younger women keep getting flagged and questioned. Women, the industry's power dynamics, suspicious friendships, and if even half of those whispers are true, it paints a radically different portrait of the empire he's built. Jaguar Wright, who never holds back, poured gasoline on that blaze. And fans devoured it. She stepped forward and snarled, "Jay-Z is worse than Diddy, not louder, not sloppier, simply smarter, colder, quieter, and far more deliberately calculated." To her. According to her, Jay-Z has been setting people up to take the hits while keeping his own name sparkling clean. But if Diddy starts collapsing under the weight of his own mess, there's a real chance Jay could sync with him. Then there's the strange energy at public events. Fans have been pointing out how stiff Beyoncé has looked lately, especially at the Grammys. Jay-Z gave this big, fiery speech about how the awards. They said the awards never truly honored her. At first it seemed sweet, but look closer. He didn't say her name or call her his wife, only this young lady. Beyoncé didn't look moved. She looked exhausted, like someone holding in a scream. Right after the speech they left and immediately vanished into the waiting cars. No photos, no celebration, no lingering. The applause died as they grabbed Blue Ivy and quickly left the area. Fans immediately noticed and whispered. Jay-Z had just accepted a Global Impact Award, offered vague praise to Beyoncé without saying her name, then bolted instead of celebrating. That is not normal. Something smells really off. Meanwhile, Beyoncé is grinding harder than ever. Beyoncé has been rolling out a new hair care line, dropping cinematic visuals, releasing new music worldwide, and touring globally. She moves like someone quietly building a one-woman empire, and fans say it's deliberate, like she's getting ready to step out from Jay-Z's shadow and lock in her own financial and artistic independence before more chaos erupts. Because if Jay-Z really gets tangled in Diddy's collapse and fresh skeletons tumble out, she'll need a clean break. Not only emotionally, but strategically. And that's what's got everyone on edge. Jason Lee's timing wasn't accidental. He began hinting right after Cassie filed her lawsuit against Diddy. That can't be coincidence. Jason knew the public watched the industry with fresh eyes. So when he started dropping clues, the timing landed harder and speculation online is boiling over, and now everyone's whispering. Was this Jason Lee's last warning to Beyoncé before he detonated those secrets? Jay-Z's radio silence is louder than any press release. As rumors spin and Jason Lee pulls strings like a puppet master dangling anonymous receipts, Jay-Z acts publicly unshaken. And that's exactly why folks are on edge. Insiders say he's been quietly scrambling behind the scenes, moving like a cleanup crew to bury whatever ugly mess could soon crawl out. On the surface, one theory says he's quietly lawyering up, not just for damage control, but for full-on war if Jason decides to release what he has. Insiders whisper Jay-Z's legal team is already shadowing Jason's every move, collecting clips, timestamps, and transcripts in case things get ugly. And while suing someone like Jason Lee sounds bold, it wouldn't be the first time a celebrity tried to shut someone up, and sometimes they succeeded with threats before. All the legal filings ready to block anything before it sees sunlight. But the real question isn't whether Jay-Z has lawyers, it's can they halt a train already rolling. Beyoncé, meanwhile, isn't hiding. She's launched a PR onslaught, smiling at appearances, posting picture-perfect shots, hawking her brand like everything's fine. Fans? They see through the act and are done. Not when the cracks are booming this loudly. Some even argue the rollout of Beyoncé's hair care line was timed to drown out the chatter. A strategic distraction, pure and calculated, to steer the narrative. If the truth drops and it's messy, she needs business footing strong enough to survive the fallout. And there's the intimate side too, because at the heart of all this gossip and chaos sits a marriage now. That marriage might be hanging by a thread. Jay-Z and Beyoncé built a billion-dollar empire together. Music, fashion, investments, even their kids, all wrapped under one iconic name. Walking away isn't just heartbreak, it's dismantling a kingdom. That's why some think Beyoncé still hasn't filed, not because she's not ready emotionally, but because the logistics would be a full-scale nightmare. Rumors say both camps are quietly sitting on dirt. Beyoncé may have her own skeletons. Partly why she's tiptoeing. If she incinerates Jay-Z, he could torch her too. It's a mutual checkmate. Neither side can move without detonating the other. In that cold stalemate, silence becomes the sharpest weapon. But Jason Lee clearly isn't content to stay muted. He's clearly itching to spill those receipts and bring the whole thing down publicly. He couldn't care less about their little public standoff. He's not signing any peace treaty. Honestly, he feasts on tension. And he knows precisely how to sprinkle just enough breadcrumbs to keep everyone salivating while staying legally untouchable. That's why fans sit back with popcorn. He never needs to say it all. He only needs to say enough. Don't overlook the timing. The whole industry is tilting. Big celebrity names are being exposed. Old reputations are under fire. And people are way more ready now to accept that megastars may not be what they seem. In this atmosphere, a single perfectly timed leak can ignite a global firestorm. Jason understands that today. That's why he isn't rushing. He's biding his time for the perfect hit, the moment when the blowback is largest, the fallout goes global, and he can declare, "I told you so." Now the clock is counting down. Beyoncé's fans hold their breath. Jay-Z's allies stay silent. And Jason Lee, he still smiles, still hints, still dangles, waiting to pull the trigger. That's the tease. Maybe he's bluffing, maybe he isn't. But if he ever speaks up, this won't be just another tabloid splash. It could be the total collapse of one of music's most iconic couples.